Pep Talk UK, Pro Beez at the Ultimate Boxer press conference. We've just had the draw, and we are looking forward to December the 13th, Friday the 13th.
Ouch.
The heavyweights.
Oh, you have to love heavyweights, man. I mean, any heavyweight fight that's 50-50, and there aren't that many of them. If you think about it, we can go a whole year in Great Britain with about 2 50-50 fights. Most heavyweights fight guys they know they're going to beat, and every now and again they get parachuted in and two guys have to fight each other. On one night, we get 4 quarterfinals, 2 semis and a final. And as far as I can tell, if they're not 50-50, they're 45-55 or they're 51-49. If you like heavyweight boxing, if you like 50-50 fights, this is perfect. And all we just need on the night is just a little bit of... We need the first heavyweight fight to set the agenda. And there's a history in UB Ultimate Boxer. If the first fight, first quarter final, is unbelievable, everyone ups the game, raises the game. So let's hope that that's the case. The first 2 go at each other like they're only having 1 fight that night, not potentially 3. That sets the tone. The others go at each other. Form book goes out the window. All bets are off. The favourite gets beat in the first round. The number 2 manages to come through against the number 3, but he's got nothing left. It's great. It's just ridiculous chemistry. I love every second of it.
What is about the heavyweights? I mean, the heavyweights bring a special, something special to boxing overall. I've watched this competition grow from the beginning, and the heavyweights now, that's going to be something amazing.
You know what you've got with these heavyweights here is you've got 4 or 5 guys from the wrong side of the boxing tracks. Guys that weren't meant to be fighting for this much money and getting this much profile. Then you've got a couple who have been looked after a little bit more, who then maybe went wrong, and one guy who's still being looked after and is still unbeaten and still going right. So you've got the ingredients, you've got that bit of spice to create something and to make something. And heavyweights are heavyweights, and whether you like it or not, scientifically you can prove that a 7-stone man hits another 7-stone man, and it's the same effect as a 12-stone, 15, 17-stone man hitting a 17-stone man. It's not. It's different. Heavyweights are different beasts. They're different beasts. Mickey Duff, the famous British promoter and manager, arguably the greatest boxing brain in British boxing history, he used to say there's boxers and boxing, and then there's heavyweight boxing. It's a different business, man. It's a totally different business. And when you get guys that sometimes are either quite raw or absolute out-and-out novices who can whack, who can bang, it's perfect. And it's 50-50s. You don't see 50-50 heavyweight fights. We're going to see 4 quarterfinals that are essentially 50-50. Bingo, within an hour of the boxing starting in Altrincham, people are going to see things you don't often get to see. How bad is that?
Steve, you picked Jonathan Pilata as the favourite, hard-hitting heavyweight from South London. Why exactly have you picked him as the favourite?
Because even though he's 31, he's still a baby in boxing years. He's like a 24-year-old kid, in my opinion. And I think he'll have a bit of speed, a bit of mobility. He's full-time professional. A lot of these guys are either taking time off work or still working and training in the evening.
We've got a Tyler in the competition.
We've got a Tyler in the competition. We've got this guy in the competition. One guy drives a truck for the council, Kamil Sokolowski, the Polish-born former Muay Thai boxer who's a dangerous fighter.
He's been in the likes of Dillian White.
And you can't hurt him. Only the very best hurt him. And I can assure you, I've seen some of those fights. And I just think that Jonathan will have a bit of everything on his side, a bit of confidence, a bit of youth, and he can bang, and he's rangy. Plus, he's the one that's been earmarked to move on. He's part of a generation of half a dozen heavyweights that are being geared up to take over the British scene in a year, 18 months' time. So he's been put in this tournament. He's entered himself in this tournament, and I just half fancy him, just that little bit of grade, but. First time up, he fights a guy that's had 2 fights. It's the perfect matchup for the quarterfinal. The guy who I consider to be top seed and my favourite against the guy who is, if there is a real underdog here, it's him. Perfect. That's what you want. And you couldn't fix it. You could have filmed me doing a draw. We can't fix that stuff. I wish we could. We can't.
Right, now speaking of heavyweights, just to conclude, we've got the biggest fight of the year on the horizon. I will see you in Saudi. We'll be out there. No Malibu, but I'll have an orange juice. How's this fight going to go down?
You can not just have an orange juice, you can have about 200 different types of juices. You're going to love Saudi Arabia. The juices, the hookah bars, the coffee shops, the tea shops. It's going to be a cultural experience. The fight itself, it's over the years, I tend to, on awkward fights, on fights that aren't black and white to choose, and I don't feel really strongly about, I tend to hold back my predictions. And I'm going to do it here, and I've been saying this since September. I saw AJ in September, saw AJ recently up in Sheffield, and I think he's in a better place now than he was in September. Saw Ruiz in September. He was in a great place there, and he's trained himself a little bit drawn. Be interesting to see how they adapt to Saudi Arabia, how they settle into Saudi Arabia, and who
Humidity.
The humidity, I mean, they can replicate that in various ways, but just want to see how they, more than that, it's just not necessarily a physical thing, it's more a mental thing. I want to see how they are on Monday night when we get together with them, and then on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. I want to just see how they are. I want to see how they are when they stand looking at each other and how they're walking to the weigh-in and things like, I mean, so I've decided who's going to win a fight in my mind when the fighters show up for the ring walk. And people say, how can you do that? I said, because I want to see how the guy's reacting. I want to see how he goes from there to the ring. Does he look relaxed? Is he panicking? Is he falling apart? So you can change your opinion. How can you make an opinion on a fighter or two fighters going into a fight when you haven't seen either of them in the gym training, sparring, when you haven't been with them in the days, hours before a fight? No, trust me, to do a really valued judgment, especially in a fight that could be on such thin margins. I'll leave it right late to the day, no sweat, no problem at all. People say that's cheating. How's it cheating? You know, what if we get there and Ruiz has got a terrible head cold? If I pick Ruiz now and then I get there and Ruiz has got a really big cold, so if I change my mind next week, people will say, oh, you're after timing. No, I'm not choosing now. I'm going to choose when I know a little bit more.
I suppose that makes sense. I mean, especially with the likes of Andy Ruiz Jr., the master of mind games. I saw him on Instagram only yesterday having a slice of pizza.
Of course, man. And you know what? He would probably say that's his second one. And then you'll see him tucking into ice cream. That's all terrific. That's all brilliant. And I love that. And Ruiz is a bit of a master at that. I don't think Ruiz eating food is going to faze Anthony Joshua. I think it's if there's any damage to be done, it won't be inflicted by Andy Ruiz having a double pepperoni with a cheese rim. Unless it's frozen, because that would do some damage. A 4-kilo frozen pizza would hurt anybody.
If he indulges in a Haagen-Dazs as well, will you pick Joshua?
Oh, sure. No, listen, the Haagen-Dazs, the Snickers. I mean, you know, if Andy Ruiz, first press conference, picture this, right? First thing Andy Ruiz does, right, when he comes into the press conference, instead of sitting on the top table, he's got a big box of Snickers bars, and he walks along, gives every single member of the press a Snickers bar. It's brilliant, it's funny. Because you know who would have done that? Ali would have done that. Therefore, the press conference becomes irrelevant. It's just fun. So instead of the two of them saying nothing, we have a great joke about the Snickers bar. Brilliant. Gets his Snickers belt out. Absolutely fantastic. Brilliant.
Steve Bunce, it has been a pleasure. My first interview is the legend, Steve Bunce. I'll see you out in Saudi.
You will indeed see you in Saudi.
My man, Steve Bunce. Thank you. Pep Talk. Subscribe. Thank you.